Michael, don't leave me here. Michael, help me.
Alright, how's it going guys? My name is KC and welcome to a completely different video that I'm doing on the channel. We're not finished making fun of the infamous Return to Freddy's series yet. No. Not by a long shot. I went and played all the OG games, and all of them got a 1 out of 10 except for the Return to Freddy's 4, which got a 2 out of 10. And I decided, how about we go check out that novel that Tyler made? It's called The Return to Freddy's The Dreadful Truth. And from what I heard, this novel is absolutely god awful. And it's not recommended that anybody reads it because it's that bad. Well, I'm gonna read it anyways and be the judge of that, okay? I'm gonna go into this novel with my expectations all the way at rock bottom. All of the OG games failed to impress me. They all got terrible ratings because they were terrible. They were all torture sessions. This novel is apparently a wild ride. It involves torture suits and a super cancer. Yeah, let that sink in. That's some wild stuff if I've ever heard it, isn't it? So go ahead and get your reading glasses on if any of y'all wear them. Grab your snacks, your drinks, and your blankets. We are about to have ourselves a maximum story time, and y'all are coming with me on this journey. I have my water ready too because my throat gets absolutely dehydrated super fast when I do a lot of talking. So this is very good to have when you're a YouTuber. Here's the novel, okay? I just pulled it up. Quote unquote novel, if you can even call it that. It is, let's see here, 9 chapters long, and it's literally a text file that you have to download off of a Game Jolt page, okay? So that should set the standard pretty well, shouldn't it? So here we go. So chapter 1, March 25th of 1942. There was a secret Japanese government facility located on the other side of the world called Gilbert Facility. It was a hospital that held a secret project that was meant to save people from a severe super cancer that was also contagious. Oh my God. Cancers in real life aren't even contagious. So that don't make no sense. But yeah, the super cancer, that's so, just saying that. Just saying those 2 words, I can't take that shit seriously at all. It's hilarious. There was sadly no cure. However, on May of 1942, they had the idea of transferring one's soul from one body to an object or mechanism of any kind of their choosing. So they labeled it as the Save the Kids project. They had their technical engineers make some high-tech mechanical robots that was hopefully able to handle a human soul. 3 patients that had the disease were ever so willing to be part of the project and signed up for it. The 3 patients, patient 20, patient 48, and patient 63, were sent to the testing chamber where the soul transfer would be in pursuit. They were strapped onto the hospital bed for safety precautions, and they were knocked out with a shot so that they wouldn't feel anything during the process. As they put the metal soul extractor tube into all 3 of their hearts and brains, the energy from their body began to drain as the soul began its transfer. Their heart rate began to drop fast, and they all went straight into a flat line. Straight onto or into? Come on, Tyler. It's into. Right when the scientists thought the test was successful, the robots began to awaken and talk. The test was indeed successful, and the patients have been saved from the super cancer. Having patient 20 be put in Fairy Tale Ty, patient 48 be put in Fairy Tale Coley, and patient 63 be put in Fairy Tale Sally. However, they didn't want this to happen to the 3 patients. They wanted them to have their organic forms rather than living in a metal body. What? Okay, this part right here is confusing me. However, they didn't want, who's they? I'm gonna assume it's their parents. I was about to say, was it the kids? It couldn't have been the kids because they wanted this. They agreed to it, didn't they? Probably without their parents' consent. I don't know. This is something you're not meant to try and make sense of because, you know, it's got super cancers and a Japanese mafia. So yeah, there was no other choice they had. There was a liquid antidote that they were working on, but they feared it would make the virus worse than it already was. So they didn't bother running tests with it just yet. They just called it code RADSLA. Okay. So the next year, January the 4th, hey, that's my old man's birthday. The owner of Gilbert facility, Gilbert, was very ill. Oh, did he contract the super cancer also? I don't know. Let's keep reading and see. Alay, the son of Gilbert, was there. You're using the wrong there. It's THERE, not there, as in what you use to address somebody, like that's their stuff. Come on, Tyler, you can do better than that. Gilbert was there when his father later passed away from old age. Before his death, Gilbert said that he wanted to live on for eternity so that he could be there as people were being saved from the virus. What virus? Oh, the super cancer. Right. So first it's a super cancer and now it's a super virus. Come on, Tyler, make up your mind. Viruses are contagious. Cancers are not. So the word super cancer makes even less sense now. So Alay had an idea. He would use the soul transporter that they had invented a year ago on his father. Didn't he pass away though? Isn't it too late for that? There's no soul to extract because that motherfucker already went up to the afterlife, no? So he was going to use that shit on his father and have the scientists working at Gilbert facility help him make a machine that would provide energy like no other to keep the mecha robots running up so that the 3 patients and many others would stay alive and not shut down. On July the 17th of 1943, the machine was finished at long last. They had the father's body put into the hospital bed and the machine hooked up to a bunch of computers and monitors, putting as much knowledge, power, and energy into the machine as possible. They couldn't tell whether or not this would work since the father was already dead. Yeah, I just pointed that out. There probably isn't a soul to extract because it's already in the afterlife, okay? It's not in his body anymore because he's dead. What purpose would it still have to be in a dead body? Suddenly, the machine activated on its own. It had a voice and a mind of its own. Ooh, damn, I wonder why. It was a beautiful creation that they accomplished. On September of 1943, Gilbert facility had received a call from America. The person behind the line had a very unsettling voice, as if he was looking into an inside job. He asked about the machine and its power and what it would cost to purchase such a device from them. Alay said that it wasn't for sale and to have a nice day. As Alay hung up, he felt uncomfortable with the person that he was just talking to on the phone. Oh yeah, this is where the mafia comes in. Could have sworn I heard that it was a Japanese mafia, but I guess not. Oh, no, not a Japanese mafia. There was a Japanese government facility, a laboratory that was working to try and save people from a super cancer. That's also apparently contagious, even though cancer isn't contagious. So we're cutting to America, okay? When Alay hung up on the head of the boss, the mafia drug gang, there we go. Okay, so the mafia is American, I'm sorry. Forget everything I just said about a Japanese mafia, okay? The mafia is American, but like that's crazy, you know? In the original Five Nights at Freddy's story, we just have Five Nights at Freddy's pizzerias, animatronic suits, kids getting murdered by a purple guy. And yeah, the guy was just crashing out, killing kids. But here, we got some even more crazy shit happening in the story of the Return to Freddy's. We got a drug mafia in America, Japanese government facility in the middle of World War II, mind you. I believe World War II was still going on during the 1940s. And we also got the super cancer that's contagious and is also a virus because Tyler can't make up his fucking mind. Anyway, when Alay hung up on the boss of the mafia drug gang, the boss's name is Allison, and that motherfucker was pissed. Bro was pissed. He wore a red trench coat, blue jeans, a white fedora, and he told the gang, "Pack your bags, we're going to Japan." And as the gang members packed their bags and booked a flight at the airport, they had devices of their own that they had created, and they would disguise any weapons and metal objects as safe, anonymous objects. What? They have the technology that can disguise weapons or any metal objects as something completely harmless? And this is the 1940s, mind you. Like, I don't think that was even technologically feasible back then. And it still isn't, even now. Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. Chapter 2. Oh man, this is a long-ass chapter. When the flight landed, the gang tracked down to where the cellular communications were coming from and headed towards the phone call's location. He called Alay and gave him a warm, welcoming message that he would strike. And as he called, Alay picked up the phone. Alay asked who was calling, and Allison replied with, "Hey buddy, it's me. Remember? You declined my offer, and it was gonna be millions. something that would be worth using to upgrade your tech, but instead I'm left with a decline. You know how much I hate declined offers that are good. And then Allison hung up. He sent his team of gang members in. The gang used a tech that they had to shut off all the lights in the Gilbert facility. And as LA was just about to escape the office funnel transporter door shut on him and locked him in. The narrator walks up to the window of the office, stares at LA deep into his eyes with despair. LA panics as he starts pounding his fist on the window's door, but it was no use. The narrator, the mafia boss, Allison, that's who this quote unquote narrator is. Just say Allison. Why are you turning him into a narrator now? What? Okay, anyway, so LA just got locked in. Final transporter door shut on him and locked him in. Allison walks up to the window of the office and stares at him deep into his eyes with despair. LA panics as he starts pounding his fist on the windows and the door, but it was no use. Allison says nobody, and I mean nobody, declines a good offer. So as a thank you for dragging my ass down here, I'm gonna take what will rightfully be mine. Have fun dying alone. I'll be sure to send a goodbye gift by shutting down your facility and your project to save everyone, as toxic gas starts to release from the air vents in the office. Being trapped in there, LA finds it harder and harder to breathe as he screams for help. Nobody can hear him since the building was evacuated and several scientists were shot to death, their eyes being minced and their bodies being hung for the world to see. LA's vision blurs out as his heart slowly stops and then drops to the floor dead. So, R.I.P. LA, that motherfucker's dead. The gang walks out the doors of the Gilbert facility, and Allison finds an interesting antidote bottle that caught his interest, and it was labeled code RADSLA with a description that said an antidote being run for tests that is supposed to cure the super cancer virus. Okay, so first it's a super cancer, then it's a virus, and then Tyler decided, you know what, fuck it, let's have them do the fusion dance. Let's have them put on some Potara earrings or some shit, right? And now this motherfucker is called a super cancer virus. And it's got side effects like itchy throat, lightheaded, 90% immortality, loss of sperm. Damn, it'll sterilize you. What the fuck? The 90% immortality made him want to take it. And he did, putting it in his coat pocket. So anyways, the gang escaped on time before the police had arrived to investigate the crime scene. And as the gang headed back to the airport a week later to fly back to America, Allison decided to quickly drink half of the code RADSLA bottle, leaving the other half of the bottle just in case. Yeah, let me just drink something that apparently says 90% immortality as a possible side effects. You know, that's not even confirmed. It's just a possible side effect that's written on the thing. I'm gonna just drink that shit without even testing it or anything. So whatever the fuck happens to Allison, that's on him. Oh god, this is a long, look at this. Look at the size of this damn chapter, bro. I don't know if you've been recording for 19 minutes. Okay. After we're done with chapter 2, we're gonna stop here. Anyways, we're back in America now. The gang has a hold of the machine and they now have full control over the business. They wanted to make loads of money and they had an idea to run a business known as Fazbear Inc. They wanted to make Fazbear Inc. a manufacturing facility where they made animatronics of their own and create businesses across America that were for children's entertainment. But this wasn't for the kids. This was for the money. And this was easy money for Allison and the gang to make. So these same motherfuckers that just went all the way to Japan to kill a bunch of people and steal some shit now decide that they want to make children's entertainment for the kids. Out of everything they can decide to do after they get back to America, after just murdering a bunch of people, they decide to start making animatronic pizzeria chain. What? Like, you gotta just stop and say, like, what? This is crazy. So they created their first children's location on October 3rd of 1943. It was called Goldie Paradiner, where they had an animatronic talking gold bear and a gold bunny. They were specially designed suits that Allison liked to call Springlock suit, both animatronic and a suit for a person to fit inside. As weeks went by, the narrator's greed grew stronger and stronger. Oh, I'm sorry, you mean Allison's greed? First you're calling him Allison, and then you're calling him the narrator, just bouncing the two back and forth. So Allison's greed grew stronger and stronger. He put up a for hire sign for Fazbear Inc. And quite a lot of people were hired that day. On October 19th of 1943, the entertainer known as the Green Jester, or his real name, Gron. Gron was one of the people that was able to get a job at the Goldie Paradiner and Fazbear Inc. He was a full-time, hard-working father with a loving wife and 2 kids. A very close friend of Gron's named Vincent was a slacker when it came to jobs. A few days after Vincent got the job at Fazbear Inc., Gron and Vincent were talking and slacking off on the job as Allison was stalking and secretly watching from above the balcony in disappointment and anger. When things don't go his way, he gets this urge to force control upon those who don't behave. Several other employees were slacking off as well, and breaks were certainly not allowed in Fazbear Inc. What the fuck? What kind of company doesn't allow breaks? I'm not working anywhere that doesn't allow breaks. You got me fucked up. The employees who don't behave have 2 chances. Break chance 1, you get dragged by the other gang members behind the secret wall that lies a horrible dark secret of slavery and enforcement. Break chance 2, and you get forced into one of the torture suits and die from head to toe as the sharp knives and needles stab every part of your body, draining your blood and organs inside out and using it as fuel to power up the torture suits, giving them a new and torturous life of pain and suffering. What kind of psychotic ass boss is that? That is murder right there. He's gonna kill his employees for misbehaving? Or, I'm sorry, for breaking chance 2. People are gonna notice that that motherfucker has gone missing, and they're gonna call the police and have the whole place investigated and shit. Like, I feel like Tyler was just making this shit up as he was writing this novel. Like, making it up on the spot, like off the top of his head type shit, you know? That's what this novel is really starting to feel like right now. Okay, so Gron and Vincent, they got a pass. Just this once, but for the others, most of them were sent behind the wall that lies the dark secrets of Fazbear Inc. Gron and Vincent were not aware of what lied behind the wall or even of its existence. On October 29th of 1943, Gron and Vincent were finding Allison to be a little suspicious. Their curiosity got out of control when Gron and Vincent started to quietly and stealthfully follow Allison. So Allison was looking around in paranoia as he felt that he was being watched, or he wanted to see if the coast was clear. Gron saw the pattern that he put into the brick wall, and the wall opened with a long set of stairs going down, and then the wall closed behind Allison. Gron and Vincent went up to the wall and implemented the same passcode that their boss had put in, and as the wall opened, they quietly walked down the stairs that was covered in dry and thick red liquid that they could only assume was blood. As they got to the last set of the stairs, they peeked behind the wall without being seen and saw something they'll never forget. They saw the lives of many being enslaved, whipped, beat up, and forced to work as the cries of the many echoes across the stairs. They were forced to worship this false idol called... I'm sorry, it's an idol. I-D-O-L, not I-D-L-E. They were forced to worship this false idol called a torture device that they saw was under construction and being forced to work on. So as Gron and Vincent ran up the stairs, Allison heard the metal stairway sounds, and Gron and Vincent quickly headed for floor 11 where the machine was located and tried their best to sabotage the machine to where it would stop making the torture suits built for slavery and torture. As Gron and Vincent damaged the machine, it would seem as if it stopped, but without them realizing it, they only made it worse and corrupted the AI. Gron and Vincent went back to floor 1 and saw Allison standing across from them with anger. Allison then ran towards them, trying to kill them. Gron and Vincent ran towards the other direction where the exit was located, and they left the building and locked the door and barricaded it. Allison pounded on the door, yelling at them, and as Gron and Vincent ran away, they heard screams, a sound of blood splatter and flesh being ripped. From that day forward, they only found out that they were working for a monster doing the devil's deed. Allison, however, remained alive and controlling the torturous beasts that roamed the facility of Fazbear Inc. Okay, it looks like this chapter is almost over. Finally, we're only 2 chapters in and I already want to stop reading. On November 5th of 1943, 3 employees who worked with Fazbear Inc. accidentally sent off a shipment of 2 more animatronics to the Goldie Paradiner location. The 2 extra suits soon arrived at the doorstep of the Goldie Paradiner. The owner of the location was confused about the delivery. He opened up the package and he didn't make an order and saw that the blueprints for the suits were completely different. These weren't spring lock suits. They were something completely different that he didn't know of. So for safety precautions, They put the 2 extra suits known as the Golden Frank Burt and the Golden Kitty Fazcat suits in the hidden bunker underground where nobody could find them except for anyone working there. The suits will be checked out soon, he said, as he closed the latch and covered it with the rug. The 3 of the employees back at Fazbear Inc. went to floor 9 out of curiosity and investigated why their boss put floor 9 as off limits. They opened the door and heard as it creaked open. There was webs and dust everywhere, and in front of the 3 of their eyes lied 3 torture suits: the Beast, Torture Buster, and Torture Saber, the werewolf animatronic. The boss, Allison, or narrator, checked the cameras and saw the 3 employees on floor 9. The 3 employees saw meat cleavers, hooks, chains, knives, slaughter equipment, 3 dead corpses, and other grotesque and gruesome things like intestines and eyeballs. What is this edgy ass shit, bro? How do we go from a super cancer to this? There was blood absolutely everywhere, and it was a sight that definitely wasn't worth seeing. You don't say. The 3 employees turned around to see Allison standing in front of them saying, "I thought I said this room was off limits. Did you really think you could get away with this? This is my factory, my rules, and you didn't play by my rules." One of the 3 employees said, "I'm sorry. Please, let us go. I got kids to feed. We won't go into the room again. We swear on our life we won't tell anybody." Allison replied with, "Bet on it." Allison grabbed a rusty metal pipe off the ground and abused them with it to the point where they were bruised severely and blood was running down their nose and mouth. Why did the 3 of them fight back? It's 3 against 1. They could have taken him on. That fight or flight response should have kicked in, and they should have either ran or threw some hands at Allison or something. The employees were foolish enough to go into the 3 torture suits labeled the Slaughter Crew and thought that they could fight back using the metal torture suit. What? So these employees, instead of running or throwing some hands at Allison, they just decided to stand there and let him beat all of them half to death. And then they see the animatronic torture suits and thought that it was Power Rangers or Gundam or some shit. They go inside of there thinking it's going to be like a battle suit or something. It's a fucking animatronic suit. It's a mascot costume that was designed to be worn by somebody so that they could entertain kids. So why would you think that it was some kind of battle suit? What? Okay, that's probably the highlight of this video right there. That's stupid. That's very stupid. They were wrong and they failed to notice that they couldn't move. Allison could do nothing but laugh and grin evilly at them. One of the 3 employees said, I'm stuck. Get us out of these things." Allison replied with, "You dumbasses. When a person enters these torture suits, it automatically deploys torture mode, meaning you're not getting out. See this button right here? I'm going to press it and I'm going to watch you die and scream my name. I'm going to watch as your family loses you and wonders why you never came home for a warm meal. And I'm going to watch as your family wonders why you never came back home to say goodnight to your children. Goodbye, fools. It was a shame that it had to come to this." As Allison presses the button, one of the employees yell, "Damn you!" as a torture suit shoves and stabs knives and needles from head to toe, draining every bit of blood and organs from their bodies and using it as fuel. They screamed and cried as Allison watched them die until he heard nothing more come out of their mouths. On December the 23rd, 1943, Gron was going to take his wife and 2 kids to Goldie Paradiner as an early Christmas celebration for the kids. Aww. So let me get this straight. Gron and Vincent, they were caught slacking off, right? They ended up somewhere they weren't supposed to be. The boss caught them, was probably about to kill them, but they were able to run away and get to a nearby exit and get out that motherfucker and never go back. Locked Allison in there and make sure he couldn't follow them. And they took off running. They went home. You know, they almost died that night. They learned that the person that they were working for was an absolute murderous psychopath who has no regard for human life, doesn't even give a rat's ass about the lives of his employees. And what does he do? Instead of, raising some alarms about it, reporting it to the police or something, he takes his wife and 2 kids there as an early Christmas gift. He takes his wife and 2 kids to a restaurant that's being run by a complete psychotic maniac that kills and tortures employees, the same motherfucker that almost claimed his life. And you're gonna take your wife and kids and let them be around that guy? What? Oh my God. Okay, let me keep reading. So Gron hopped in the car, and while he was bucking the seatbelt, his wife, Linda, yelled Gron's name. Gron looked up, only to see a car charging right towards them at high speed, crashing the car. The impact was so severe the damage to the family was near death. Allison stepped out of the car, walked up to Gron while he was knocked down and said in his ear, "You will learn from this and learn not to fuck with me and my business ever again." Allison then decided to run away back to Fazbear Inc. and wear a new spare clothing so that the evidence of him being part of the crash wasn't there. Gron was about to take his family over to that murderous psychopath, but instead, Allison just straight up went to him. Got inside of a car and then crashed right into Gron and his family at high speed. I don't know how he even knew they were in the fucking car in the first place. I guess, he saw them as he was pulling up, or maybe he did reconnaissance or something. I don't know. So he crashes that bitch and somehow survives. It was a crash that was bad enough to injure Gron and his entire family, but not him, nope. And then changes his clothes, as if that's gonna keep the heat off of him. It probably will. This is Tyler writing this, so maybe the police aren't gonna do shit about this. I don't know. Well, they are, but they're not going to get anywhere. The police are probably written to be fucking morons. Neighbors walked outside and saw what happened, contacting 911, not calling, contacting. The ambulance soon arrived, bringing everybody to the emergency room. Allison saw this happen and wasn't about to allow Gron's life to go back to the way it was, so he sent one of his gang members to be a hitman and cause some more damage to Gron's life. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital and got into the emergency room, the doctors were falsely called out to another patient for another doctor to take over the procedure. The gang member's hitman had then entered the room disguised as a doctor. Motherfucker walked up to Gron, looked at him for the longest time, then he said, "You should have never became a part of the Fazbear Inc. family." Then he walked over to Linda's life support, stared back at Gron, and then ripped the cord, shutting down every bit of life Linda had left in her. Gron saw a glimpse of this happen as he was opening his eyes, and he yelled, "No!" as he broke down in tears, seeing his life falling apart one chunk at a time. The hitman then ran to Gron and knocked him out by hitting him across the head with his handgun. The hitman then snuck out of the building. The job was done. One of the real doctors returned to the room to find the life support deactivated and called for medical attention for the patients immediately. Several doctors then headed over to the room to assist, and a day later, December 24th, Gron awoke from his sleep on the hospital bed, and the doctors looked at him as he awoke and sighed with disappointment. And one of the doctors came up to Gron and said, "Gron, we're afraid we have some bad news. We tried everything we could to stabilize your wife, but she's gone." "I'm sorry." Gron could do nothing but break down crying, as the doctor then stood up and said, "We're gonna have to send your youngest child to a foster family because we need to assure his safety, but we can't do the same for your oldest child since he's at the age where he can make his own decisions. And we can't force that with the age that he's in." The youngest child then got up, hugged his father, who was Gron, obviously, like we didn't fucking know that, and then said, "I love you, Daddy." The doctor then held the youngest child's hand and walked him to the new family that he was being sent to. The youngest child looked back at his father while he was walking with the doctor and waved goodbye. The oldest child then made a choice, and he decided he was going to stay with his father because he loved him too much to let him go. So the older child decided to stay with Gron, but the younger child did not get a say whatsoever, not even Gron himself, who was the older child's father. He didn't get a say either. I mean, unless Gron is like disabled or something, or completely unable to take care of his kids, they shouldn't just be tearing the family apart like that just because the wife died. That don't make no sense. Gron decided to give his oldest child an early Christmas present. As the oldest child opened the present, he looked to see the hat that Gron used to wear. As ridiculous of a present as it was, he appreciated it, and he cherished it, and he smiled, and Gron smiled as well. As his child see his own father in such a horrible state of condition. What? Damn, what kind of grammar is that? Anyways, he didn't want his child to see his own father in so much pain, physically and mentally, so Gron then wrote a little note for his son, and it said, "Dear Charles, Daddy won't make it home for a very long time. I did some things that I can't exactly explain to you since you're too young to understand. I'm sorry, my little one. I'll be back soon, though. Your Daddy." The oldest son, Charles, didn't know what to do alone. He only knew so much, but he wasn't ready for this. He then stood up, paralyzed for a few seconds, and then he heard a voice in his head. Charles heard whispering in his head that had a familiar voice. It almost sounded like his mother. Slowly looked towards the last unopened gift box, slowly opened it, and the whispers grew louder and louder and louder. Okay, that's about as much as I can take. That chapter was long as fuck. Awesome job, Tyler. Thank you so much for making the second and last paragraph of the second chapter as long as a fucking page and not knowing how to break shit down into smaller paragraphs so that you don't hurt the reader's brain. And on that note, what an absolutely atrocious novel this is. Well, actually, it isn't even a novel technically. It's not a book, it's just a text document that you download off of some Game Jolt page. And to make matters worse, the whole time it felt nothing like a novel, let alone an actual story. It just felt more like some shitty ass fan fiction written by an edgy 13-year-old. In the original Five Nights at Freddy's story, we had spring-locked suits, kids going missing in a Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria. We had possessed animatronics that want revenge on the psycho that killed them. But here, we crank the batshit crazy meter up to 100. We got a super cancer. No, not just cancer, a super cancer, a cancer that gathered all 7 Chaos Emeralds and went super. We got secret Japanese government facilities. We got American mafias that are somehow able to travel to Japan in the middle of a Japanese-American conflict. Since this story takes place in the middle of World War II, we got little gadgets that turn weapons into regular objects. We got a soul transferring machine, a magic liquid potion with side effects that include but are not limited to 90% chance of immortality and loss of sperm. We got torture suits and animatronic robots. In the 1940s, in the middle of World War II. And grammar. This is supposed to be a novel, right? So how the fuck is the grammar this bad? We're only 2 chapters in and this shit has got my brain hurting. The only time my brain hurts this bad is when the Return to Freddy's is involved, so no surprises there. I don't want to read this shit ever again. Like, I don't even want to see how it ends. I read better shit than this in elementary school, bro. I'm glad Tyler grew up and became a better person years after he put this dumpster fire out, but damn, bro. Where the hell did you go wrong? And I thought I was edgy when I was his age. Anyways, I'm gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.